Okay, so you want to know whether or not you'll be able to qualify for your loan or whether or not you can even get a loan. And that's a very legitimate question. And that's the reason why we're going through this step-by-step process. And that's the importance of having a complete and accurate loan application on file, because what it does is it helps us determine 5 things. And these things are what we call in the lending industry the 5 C's. And what those 5 C's are is, first is capacity, second, cash, third is your credit, the fourth is going to be collateral, and lastly, we'll be able to determine character. And what I'm going to do in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to go over in depth or in a little bit of detail for you exactly what each of those 5 mean in terms of your loan application. So here we go. Okay, the first is capacity. And what we're talking about when we use the word capacity in the lending industry is very simply your ability to repay the loan. And that has to do specifically with your income. And with whatever your given income is, that will have a great effect or bearing on how much you can actually qualify for in terms of securing the loan. Okay, the second is cash, and that's pretty self-explanatory, but specifically when you're purchasing a new piece of property, we're talking about your cash or the ability to put a down payment on the property. And depending on how much that down payment is will determine your qualifications based on any given loan product or home that you're interested in purchasing. Okay, and the third thing that we're talking about here is credit. And many of us, we look at credit as the first thing, but it's really not the very first thing that lenders look at. In this instance, it's the third thing that they look at, and this gives the lender an opportunity to determine what your credit history is as it regards other accounts or other payments that you're obligated to over the last 2 years primarily is what the bank is looking for. And fourth, we're talking about collateral. And collateral can come in many different forms, but what we're talking about in most instances is additional personal assets or liquid cash assets that you have available after the close of escrow or after your transaction is complete. So what am I talking about here? This would be, for example, money in a 401k account, money in your bank account, money in some type of CD or savings account. Those are liquid assets, but typically on the residential side, again, we're looking at cash or what we call liquid assets, assets that you can get a hold of within a 7-day or less period of time. Okay, now the last C is character. And you're probably figuring, well, what does my character have to do with whether or not I get a loan or not? Well, it has a lot to do with whether or not the bank sees you as a risk or not based on the other 4 C's. So in essence, the character is an overall view of the previous 4 C's, but it also looks at things like your employment as well as your work history and how long you've been on the job. Have you been in the same industry for a number of years? All of these things have to do with your character. Okay, so let's just break the 5 C's down again in layman's terms. We're talking about capital, your ability to repay the loan or your income. We're talking about cash, how much do you have to put down? We're talking about credit. What does your credit look like over the last 24 months? We're talking about collateral. What type of assets do you have? Cash in the bank, money in a 401k, or other cash that you can have available in the event that you lose your job or have to come up with additional capital to pay your mortgage in the future. And lastly, your character. This is your overall work history, the other 4 C's combined, and really how do you look before the bank as a risk. Again, if you've got all your questions answered, go ahead and click the button below to start your loan application. Give me a call if you have any subsequent questions that aren't covered here, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now.